of a new podcast that I'm going to be doing called Crazy Action Sports Stories. Because all of us that have done this have definitely been in some crazy situations, whether it's the show itself, partying, whatever. So I am going to start off with one of my stories that is actually about the show, not partying people. But it's a good story. So I call this story Peruvian Cash, or lack of Peruvian Cash. So this is a while ago. I'm working with somebody at the time, and they get a call from a promoter in Peru to do two shows in a row, one week and then one the following week. The first one was to be in Lima. So right off of the bat, I talked to my partner at the time. He's dealing with the promoter, and actually he had a South American like manager that was dealing with the promoter direct. He was dealing with the manager. So I started asking him the details, and if they've given us a down payment or anything. He says that they're really haggling back and forth on the down payment, and in fact the payment of the show. They don't want to do a down payment, blah blah blah. And right off the bat, that's a red flag, because you don't want to be waiting for the person to make their ticket money and then have to pay you. You want to make sure that they have the money up front. That way, if nobody shows up, then you're still good. So I tell him that I'm a little bit leery about this. It doesn't sound like a good situation. And he continuously tells me, no, chill out. It'll be good. It'll be fun. Like, we'll make good money. We'll have a good time. So I call my good friend from South America, and I say, hey, I tell him the situation. We're dealing with this promoter. I tell him the guy's name. I tell him the promotion company name. And the very next day, he comes back to me and says, it's a scam. And I said, why do you say that? He says, because I've asked around. Nobody knows who this person is. Nobody knows who this company is. Pretty sure it's a scam. So I go back to the person I'm working at the time. I say, hey, I'm pretty sure, like, it's not looking good. They don't want to pay anything. My friend says that, you know, nobody knows of him, and he's, obviously in freestyle motocross. So at the urging of him, I decide to go along with it, because I like to travel and I like to go places, and I have definitely had some instances where I was nervous to leave the country, and then when I left the country, everything turned out to be fine anyway. So I'm like, okay, cool. So, take everything off my bikes, get all my stuff. I got my ticket via email. We got a very small $2,000 down payment, which was like nothing for two shows. So we fly down there. This is on Wednesday we get there. And we go to the arena to check it out, or the stadium. They won't let us into the stadium. The promoter says that they have something going on in there. We'll just come back tomorrow. So we leave for the night and go and have some beers or whatever, hang out. And then the following day, Thursday. Now the show is on Friday. No, we landed Wednesday. We went there Thursday. They wouldn't do anything. Friday we went back. The show's on Saturday at like 2 in the afternoon. Friday we go back there at 11 to go and check out the stadium, and they still will not let us in. So the promoter comes back. He leaves. He comes back again, and then they finally let us in. I later found out that he hadn't paid the building, and that's why they wouldn't let him in. They're like, yeah, right, you're not getting in here to do anything until you pay the down payment. So now this is 11 o'clock. We get into the building the day before the show. So when we walk in onto the floor, obviously there's nothing, no setup or anything. So I said, I see there's a rubber tire Bobcat. One. That's it. And I'm like, is this all your equipment? And they say, yeah. And I'm like, okay, so you're obviously going to drive like a dump truck in here or something, and then, put it on the landing or push it up with the Bobcat. No, the doorway into the arena, because this is like a 200-year-old arena, the doorway is too small to drive a full truck in there. Okay, so there's a pile of dirt all the way outside. No, they say not to worry because we are going to take hay bales and we're going to stack the hay bales up in the shape of the landing. Okay, and now they're going to take this rubber tire Bobcat with a teeny ass bucket and they're going to drive it all the way outside, like up the ramp, down through the actual like whatever courtyard or whatever you want to call it, the mezzanine, and then go down a little hallway, and then there's a pile of dirt there. It's like 200 yards away, and they're doing it all one bucket at a time. So I tell my friends, the guys I'm down there with, I'm like, let's just take the hay bales. We'll stack one row so that way they can have the whole profile of how the hay bales should be stacked and everything, and then they just duplicate it until they make the width that we wanted, and then they can put the dirt on. Because I was pretty sure that it was going to take all night in order to finish this landing. So back at the hotel, we all talk and we have this unanimous decision that it is not going to get done. And our South American manager goes the next morning at like 10 o'clock and looks at the floor and everything and comes back for breakfast and he's like, we ask him what it looks like, what's going on, and he says it doesn't look good. That's all he says. Now this is 10 o'clock. That thing is in 4 hours? So we eat and everything, and then we go over at 1 o'clock. We show up at the arena or at the stadium, and there's literally, now this is an hour before the show is supposed to start. There's literally like the whole bottom of the hay bales, all the way where they touch the ground, are covered with dirt. And then there's one track, like one bucket width track of dirt up to almost the safety of the landing. That's it. It only goes on the downside and it doesn't even barely touch the top. They've been driving a damn Bobcat up and down this thing, so the whole middle of it's all sunk in. It's super soft. And they're like, yeah, we're going to finish it. There's already a rap group, a Peruvian rap group, in like the stands. They got a little stage set up in the stands. They're already performing and stuff. And they're like, this is the beginning of the show. Okay. So we go down there. The stadium's filling up. And we go down onto the floor and check it out. And I'm like, this shit's not going to be done for sure. So we walk off of the floor, and I asked somebody, I said, where is the takeoff ramp? And they go, oh, it's right down this little hallway. So I walk down the little hallway, and guess what? There is the frame of a takeoff ramp without any decking on the face. So when you look at the face, it's just cross rungs, like every 3 feet, probably every meter. I'm like, there's not even, we don't even have a takeoff ramp. 1, 2, even if you did have the takeoff ramp done, you can't land on that landing. It's sticky as hell. Like, you're for sure going to stick in it. So I decided I brought down some shirts to sell. So I go out on the floor with this whole gear bag full of shirts, and I just start tossing shit out into the crowd. Just like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Don't kill us. Don't kill us. So, we go back off of the floor, and I end up running into somebody that was actually, he worked for Yamaha there where we got the bikes from, because they rented the bikes from Yamaha. And the last time I had been in Lima, he was one of our mechanics. So I had talked to him and stuff a little bit. So the first time I see him, he's like, hey, are you guys going to ride? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, well, because people are saying you're not going to ride. And I'm like, no, we're going to ride. So I think this is before I threw out the shirts. So we go down, we throw out the shirts, blah, blah, blah. I come back out at some point, and I run into him again, like in the concourse of the building, and he's like, "Hey, it's gonna get really bad." And I'm like, "I know, I'm trying to get us out of here, trying to figure out how the fuck we get out of here." So he's like, "Hey, my friend has a full size truck or whatever." I said, "We can all hop in there." He goes, "Yeah." So I get everybody together. There was me, two other riders, and then our manager guy. So I get all those guys and I say, "Listen, we were all obviously talking on the same page. Like, we're going to be in Peruvian's attack on TV or something if we don't get the hell out of here because everybody's looking disgruntled. And we are very easy to pick out, being super white. At least two of us were white. The other guy is American Indian, but he was like 6'7", so shit, you could pick him out too. We were sticking out like sore thumbs. So I talked to the kid, and he's like, "Hey, my friend has this truck. He's parked right out back. Let's just skate out the back. We'll get out of here." So I grab the other two riders, the manager. We go walking out of the building to go to his truck. Now, as we're walking out of the building, there is a line of people waiting to get tickets, like a long ass line. And as we're walking by, one of the ladies that's, I don't know if she was selling tickets or collecting the tickets or whatever, sees us and starts pointing and starts yelling something at us and pointing at us. And everybody in line turns around and is staring at us. And we go over, we hop, maybe we didn't even get in the car yet. And I turn to the manager dude and I go, "What is she saying?" He goes, she's yelling fraud, fraud. Like, it's a fraud. So, we hop into the truck. There's actually a news camera guy runs out and he starts filming us inside the truck, trying to get out of there. And there's a guy trying to interview us. He's interviewing the South American manager, obviously, because he's the only guy that speaks Spanish. And he tells the news, he's like, "It's the promoter's fault. The landing isn't ready. Like, the setup's not ready. These guys can't ride." Because I'm pretty sure that they were on the microphone in there saying that we suck or something. We did do wheelies for a little while, and then we came off the floor, and then they asked us to do wheelies again, and I was like, "No way, dude. Like, for sure you're trying to pin us on us now. Be like, oh, these guys," which they did. They did put decking on the takeoff, and it was out there, but I wasn't jumping to that landing anyway because it was shit. So he starts telling everybody that we're not good riders and blah blah blah, and that's why we weren't doing it. So the TV guy's interviewing the manager. The manager's going, they didn't do what they were supposed to do. The setup's not ready. These guys can't ride. So if anybody's been to Peru, the parking lot did not have parking spots. Okay, it was just a lot, and there were parking attendants standing there that would just go, "You park here, you park there, you park there." So every car is just jammed in like whatever. So we're in this full-size Dodge pickup, like the only full-size Dodge pickup, I think, in the city, which was probably made us very easy to find when the camera guy was looking for us. So we're like going back and forth trying to get the truck out because the cars are parked right next to us. And I look out of the right side of the car and the truck, and there's just this little teeny car. So I say to the other two guys, I was like, "Let's hop out. We're going to move that car." So we hop out of the truck and we get around the back of the car and we pick the back of the car up and we scoot it over like 4 or 5 feet. So that way that truck can get out. So he gets out and we hop into the truck and we take off. Now, our gear bags are in our driver's, like our chauffeur, whatever the hell you want to call him. It was a minivan, so it's not like he was driving us in a limo or anything. They were in that minivan. Now, that was all the way on the other side of the arena, so I'm like, my gear's not worth that much. We're just going to bail out the back. Side note, our driver, I was told, was also our bodyguard, and that he knew mixed martial arts and this and that. He was like 6 foot, 280 pounds, solid dude, and apparently knew jiu-jitsu or something. I wasn't going to try him. So we skate out the back of the building, leave all of our gear and our gear bags in the taxi slash minivan, and we get out of there. The kid that we're with works for Yamaha, so he calls Yamaha, and I maybe shouldn't even be telling this. Probably get that kid in trouble. We get a hold of Yamaha, and then we go to the Yamaha shop and we take all of our parts off of the bikes. So at least I get my suspension back and handlebars and shit like that. We call a promoter and are like, "Hey, our bags are in the taxi," and he goes, "What bags?" And we're like, "Yeah, our gear bags, the really big bags that we were carrying around that had all of our shit in it." And they're like, "We don't know what you're talking about." So I'm like, whatever about those bags. Well, it turns out one of the other riders' passports was in his bag, which is a brilliant move. Don't leave it at the hotel or something. I don't know. Maybe that's no good either. But seems now like it was a better option. So they won't give us our bags back. They schedule a meeting for the following day at noon. So prior to that, the rider and the South American manager go to the embassy and talk to them and say, "Hey, we need a rushed passport." And the rider also says, "Hey, I am an American citizen. I want coverage or whatever protection until I leave the country because I'm an American citizen and I'm in the U.S. Embassy right now." I don't know where he got that idea from or whatever. It sounds cool, but the guy at the embassy actually tells him promoters shoot each other over money down here all the time. And he goes, "Well, so what should I do?" And he goes, "Get a gun." And he says, "Well, where should I get a gun?" And he says, "I guess on the street like everybody else." That's actually literally what the embassy told us. So they're just like, "All right, screw that. We'll just get the rushed passport. How about that? We'll just do the rushed passport. We'll stick with that." So they take picture and they say, "Okay, show back up in the morning. It'll be ready." So after they leave the embassy, they actually go and check out the locations of this guy's businesses because he has two promotions company. One is Productions Extreme, the other one's Extreme Productions. Okay, so they go with some cops to these locations. Well, the first building that they go to is empty, nothing in it. The second one that they go to is a little old lady's craft store. So obviously not a production office either. So after they figure out that my friend was right, it's obviously a fraud, they come back to the hotel and pick us up, and then we go and have a meeting with the promoter and our driver slash bodyguard, another big ass bodyguard guy, and three of his crew guys that are all pissed because I'm pretty sure they didn't get paid because he was like, "Oh, the show didn't happen. You guys don't get paid." So everybody's mad at us. So as we're there, you have the four of us standing there, me, the other two riders, South America manager. South America manager's friend, who knows the cops, uh, is standing. So it's us, then it's the promoter and all his guys, and then our manager's friend is behind them on the phone, walking back and forth. And when the manager's like, "Yo," whatever his name was, like trying to get his attention, he just continues to walk back and forth, pacing like. So I'm pretty sure he got threatened. So he's like, "Yeah, I'm out. I'm not doing anything." They go back and forth. I'm told that the promoter says, "You're going to pay us half of the money that we lost for this show, which was $40,000. So they think that we have $20,000 to give them just as we'll just make amends here. I'm pretty sure this was the plan the whole time. So when the manager asks him, he says, "Hey, how do you want to handle this?" The promoter says, "We can handle this however you want," because he probably did have guns or something, or at least bodyguards. I know that. So we leave there. We go back to the hotel, and I'm in the room with just the other two riders, and I'm like, "Dude, I think these guys are scared that are with us. Like, I think that they're scared about more than not getting paid." And as I'm saying this, the manager's friend that knows the cops, it turns the corner into my room and he goes, "Yeah, yeah, everybody that was seen with you was scared." And, obviously not about not getting paid. So he's threatening people. I'm pretty sure the promoter that I worked for the last time I was in Lima actually went and got a bodyguard because he was super cool. And when I got there, I told him I was there, so he came and visited us. So that guy's trying to say that the other promoter of the last show and I got together to sabotage this one so that he would be the only promoter in Lima, which is all untrue. So that night, our manager comes in and he comes up with this plan. He said that he was down at the front desk calling one of his friends that lives in Lima. And as he's down there, the promoter calls the front desk and is like, "Hey, are those guys still there?" And they said, "Yeah." And he's like, "Don't let them leave." So the guy at the front desk tells him that, "Oh, that was the guy. He's calling, making sure you guys haven't left." So the after that, the promoter comes up to the room, or the manager comes up to the room, and he's like, "Hey, I don't want to stay here. The promoter's calling like every half an hour to make sure that we're here and we're not leaving, and I don't feel like this is a good place. We need to get out of here." So we come up with the plan to pack our bags, but leave them open. Leave the top open. They're fully packed, but just leave them open so it doesn't look like we're gonna leave, because they're obviously calling the front desk. And sure enough, the hotel employees continuously walk up and down the hallway looking into our room. I'm sure trying to see if we're getting ready to leave. So we're just sitting there nervous as fuck with our bags packed but open, sitting on the bed watching TV. He says, "My friend's going to come and pick us up. He lives on the other side of town. Everybody just play it cool. When he shows up, I'm going to call your room, zip your bags up, and let's go." So sure enough, like midnight or 1 o'clock, um, our phone rings in our room, and he's like, "Hey, my friend's here. Let's go." So we zip all of our bags up. Now, yeah, we left our gear bags in the car in the taxi, but at the time I took two bags, so I had like my regular clothes, and then I had the gear bag, so I still have my regular clothes bag. So he calls, we zip up our shit, and we just go down the hallway and down these stairs right into the lobby. And as the three of us are like booking ass through the lobby out the front door, the guy at the front desk is just like, "Oh, oh," watching us leave, because the promoter hadn't paid them for the room. So they're like, "Oh, we're going to get stiffed out of whatever, how much money." So now this guy, it wasn't a Honda Civic, but that's the only thing that comes to mind. But it was a little ass car. Now you've got me and two guys way bigger than me, the riders, and the manager. We go out the front door with big Ogio bags. We jam 3 or 4 Ogio bags in the trunk of this little ass car, shut it, get everybody inside the car in like 30 seconds, and are out of there. So we leave that night. We go and stay at a hotel like across town. And first thing in the morning, which was much nicer, you know, I'll just notice it was a nicer hotel. We should have stayed there. But obviously, the cheap promoter wasn't going to put us in that one. So, first thing in the morning, uh, the manager and the rider who was missing his passport go to the embassy. They get his rush passport. It's available. We're supposed to have a meeting that day at noon to, I guess, show up with our 20 grand so that they can, whatever, extort us. And instead, we go directly to the airport and buy tickets. The South American managers from Bolivia. So we buy tickets from Lima, Peru to Bolivia. I end up dropping 2 grand of my own money to buy these tickets to get us out of there. The manager, I think, put in another $1,500 or something. And I'm pretty much expecting this to be like an action movie, like we're in there buying tickets, and then also we see the promoter come running in to the airport, and he's like, "Stop those guys, stop those guys." But as dramatic as that would have been, luckily that did not happen. And we, at noon, when we were supposed to have the meeting with them, we were boarding the plane, and then got out of there. We escaped. We fled. We had to flee the country. Uh, so we take that to Bolivia. We get to Bolivia. We go out that night and celebrate by getting super wine drunk. And then the next day, I woke up. Actually, I'm pretty sure I threw up that night. It was all red, just like the wine. And then I woke up the following morning with the worst wine hangover I've ever had, and get on a plane and fly from Bolivia to the United States and make it out alive. A gear bag short. Somewhere there's some kid, well, not now, it's like 10 years ago, but somewhere there was a kid in Peru riding around with some sick ass gear, brand new Alpine stars, and a nice new helmet. But we didn't have to pay 20 grand, and we survived. We didn't get shot in Peru. We didn't end up on when Peruvians attack. And now it's a really good story to tell on something like this. So, if you guys like this story, it's a good one. It's one of my favorites. Um, subscribe to the channel. If you're on audio, follow the podcast. I'm going to be doing these crazy action sports stories a bunch. And I just hope everybody enjoyed. Please tell your friends. I'm going to have all types of action sports athletes on here. I got a bullfighter that I'm trying to get on who's got crazy stories just in normal life. And if you do any type of action sports at all and have a really cool story that you'd like to let the world know about, message me, whatever, hit me up, and we will get you on. But everybody, please hit the button over here or over here, wherever I decide to put it, to subscribe. And don't get caught in Peru. Later.